Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Marina Kaler, and today I'm sitting with none other than Beyers Truter from Beyerskloof. Very warm welcome, Beyers. Tell me a bit about yourself.
I'm a morning from my side also. I'm a winemaker per se. I always had an interest in winemaking. I grew up in the Western Province. My school days was in Bellville. Then I went to Young Faribeek High. That was one of my highlights from standard 6 to matric. My enjoyment of wine started in standard 6 already. I enjoyed wine, not maybe in the amounts that I should have. Maybe I should have had less then. And then I decided I wanted to become a doctor. I always wanted to do good to other people, maybe heal them. And then after trying to get 80% on BC in the first year, I thought, no, that's not going to work for me. I'll rather go to my hobby, that's wine. And I went and I did BC Agriculture. And then afterwards, my first position was at the Deciduous Fruit Board, where I worked with table grapes for 3 years. But I always wanted to make wine. And then I got the opportunity. And in 81, I started at Koelenhof. And then 88 started Beyerskloof. And from there on, it's history that happened after that. It's amazing joyride up to now that I had. I never day's work, always pleasure.
That's really interesting. I didn't realize you wanted to become a doctor at some point, but ultimately winemaking is a science in many ways as well, so you didn't veer probably too far, and wine makes a lot of people better in other ways, so it's not necessarily such a bad thing. Tell us, Beyerskloof, where are you located? Where can we tell our guests and our listeners to come and find you?
It's actually easy to find. It's on the R304, that's the busiest road in Stellenbosch, and from the N1 you can find it, and from the N2. So it's on I think it's on the on the south side of Stellenbosch, but very easy. If you come with the N1 and you turn off on the R304, you'll get Beyerskloof. It's in the Koelenhof. They call it the Koelenhof Road. But otherwise just give a tinkle. You can phone us and I'll direct you to where we are.
Yeah, you can't miss Beyerskloof off that road, that's for sure. Tell me, Beyers, how many hectares of land do you farm?
At this stage, we've got 190 hectares, 150 planted, and we specialize in Pinotage mainly. So our main thing is Pinotage. 75% of our plantings is Pinotage, but we've also got Cabernet, Merlot, Shiraz, Pinot Noir, and very old Cinsault. That's great to have on the farm. And we also got a small bit of Sauvignon Blanc and also Chenin Blanc. So it's quite an enormous task to farm it. But if there's an opportunity and there's time, they say time is money, then we'll most probably try to invest even more in farmland, especially in Stellenbosch.
Prime farmland here in Stellenbosch, that's for sure. You are known as the king of Pinotage, Mr. Pinotage himself. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your relationship with that variety?
When I started at Koelenhof in 1981, they had mainly also the farm is planted with Pinotage. There's Cabernet, Merlot, and all the other red varieties. And we made a Cabernet and we made a Pinotage. And I made the first blend, the Paul Sauer blend, that's well-known wine of Koelenhof. And I always thought, why was the Pinotage that's so drinkable and got such a lot of tannin and a lot of fruit sort of second best? Not only at Koelenhof, but also all over the Western Cape. And then I started questioning. I tasted, we had a tasting of 10-year-old wines. It was in 81, 82. And Frans Verlang from Simonsberg brought 1972 Pinotage. And I thought, if I can make a wine like that, it will be enormous. And I found it. And I said, Beyers, I bought new oak barrels, and I put it in new oak barrels. And that's why that wine is so good. And immediately I bought new oak barrels for Koelenhof. And in 1989, Pinotage of Koelenhof, the first year that I had 50% new oak in it, it won the Robert Mondavi Trophy for the best wine in the world at the International Wine and Spirit Competition. But it was like, maybe I was a bit of a black sheep because I was, I gave my mom and dad terrible times, most probably. They loved me a lot, but I always loved the black sheep in the thing. And Pinotage was a bit of a black sheep, that's why.
And talking about the 150 hectares of vineyards that you farm, there's one specific vineyard that holds a dear place in your heart. Do you want to share some news on that?
It's like, I think vines are like people. It's like, if you talk about terroir, a vine has been planted there for 15 years, so he knows exactly what's going on around him. There's 2 or 3 specific spots that's dear or near to my heart. The first planting is on Beyerskloof, where the two of us is sitting now. In 1988, I planted the first Cabernet. But there's another spot that is called, the wine that comes from it is called Diesel. And that is my dog. I had a dog of 95 kilograms, Bull Great Dane. And when he died, I wanted to make the best Pinotage. And I had 2 marketers those days. And the one said, I don't think it's going to work. The other one said, maybe. And the maybe one is still with me, the other one not. But that Diesel piece of where that's planted, bush vines, old Pinotage bush vines, has got a special place in my heart. But so the rest of the 150 planted also.
And Tommy, do you speak to the vines? We know there's winemakers who talk to the vines or talk to the wines while they're in the cellar. Some play music, classical music to their vines. Do you have that kind of relationship? And, you know, if you do, what do you say?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's nicer to talk to the vines and to your dogs and to the rest of the family because they don't talk back. So the lovely part is you must try it, Lorena. You go into the vineyards, you can sit next to a vine and you just talk. Not specifically to the vine. I think sometimes I also played some music to the vines and they said they're going to grow faster and they're going to look better and whatever. But it really, it's very laughable, and we had a lot of laughs about it, and so they're dear old friends, so you can sit and just speak your heart out towards them, because it's a bit of a sielkundige thing in Afrikaans, we call it, that you can go and do it. But not if I'm anything and I want to be alone, I'll go and sit next to an old vine and just sit there and think and talk.
And take it all in, just
Yes.
to be in nature. Sometimes it's actually psychologically healing to us as well, probably more to us, if we have to think about it. Tell me, I know you travel and you have traveled the world extensively. Are there any foreign regions that winemaking regions that you still want to explore in a bit more detail?
I think if there's one, it's most probably Romania. That's one of the first places where wine was made, and especially the old, what do you call it? They've got like old, I can say in Afrikaans, even in Afrikaans I can't say it now, but they do the same thing in Portugal also, where they've got this big 600 liter cans underneath. It's like yes,
Almost like amphora type thing.
amphora type things underneath the soil, and they just open it up And it's a specific clay they make it with. There's a bit of a pebble in it, and then they put the wine in it, ferments it, and when it finishes fermentation, they just throw olive oil at the top of it, and then they leave it. And in Romania, I think as they use it, they pull out some of it, use it, and they just leave it until it's finished. And I tasted some of that wine, and they're great. The other place that I would like to go is to go to Israel, to go and see where the first wine was made. I heard it's like big open fermenters, very small or not very high walls, and the wines are very tannic, has been in the old days, very tannic and very expressive. So I would like to go and see where the first wine was made. I know the first wine was made by Jesus Christ, but I'm thinking of Noah, maybe when he made it. And somebody said, and I would love to go and see if I can get the space where they made the first wine and how it was made.
That would certainly be very, very interesting. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Have you had any amazing international wines that have really stood out for you?
Yes, I have. There's quite a lot. I mean, Burgundy is, for me, great. There's great Cabernets, there's great American wines. All over the world, I tasted some good wines. But I must say there's two wines in my life, or one, that once in Burgundy, I think it was Montrachet or somewhere, I was still about 32 years old, and I went to the cellar. I had an appointment, went there, and the girl was washing her dad's Peugeot. So it was like she was in a bikini, and I went in. Lovely, she was well built also. I was 32, you must remember. I'm only 67 now, but I'm still 18 in a certain sense. So I went and I said, "Are your dad around? I've got a tasting with us." She said, No. My dad asked me to do the tasting. So I tasted the wine, and you can go back to my notes. I gave it 25 out of 20. That's not the first one that I gave more than out of 20. The Lanzarote 63 Pinotage of South Africa, I gave above 20, most probably 27 out of 20, but that was 25 out of 20. So that's the only answer I can give you about the wine that I love the most.
And doesn't it really go to show that tasting a wine goes with the experience of where you are, who you're with, what you're doing? It's not just about what's in the glass right now in front of you. I like that story. Very fun. Beyerskloof most expensive wine, which one is that?
I just spoke about it, that specific piece of vineyard. It's a diesel Pinotage, and the dog diesel was Great Dane Boer Bull, and a wine dog. He was a wine dog. The Great Dane was from Warwick, and the Boer Bull was from Sakikotse at Labonia. So he was a pure wine dog. And the wine has just got off the diesel name, and we select the best. It's from that specific spot that's not irrigated. We only leave one shoot, one bunch. It's a technical part that I can describe, but it will take a bit long now. So our tonnage is very low. We work with it very specially, into special barrels, and then we've got a special selection, and it stays in barrel for about 21 months, only new barrel. And then we've got a special selection. We take 30 barrels, and that wine, we started selling the 2019 in December. We sold a month ago. And we make about 10,000 bottles of it. And interesting, I did tastings all over the world, and I was in daai moet ons nou maar, jy moet daai nou maar sny. Ek moet net die plek kry waar ons was. Dis in België, in Denemarken. Kan ek maar aangaan net? Okay. Of gaan jy met kat?
Ja.
Hoe sny jy daai uit?
Ons gaan die hele vraag van vooraf begin. Okay.
Ek sal dit korter antwoord.
No problem. How much is Beyerskloof most expensive wine, and which one is it?
It's a diesel Pinotage that we spoke about, and it's 900 Rand a bottle, and it's a very special selection from the vineyard to the barrel, and then afterwards we bring in about 10 winemakers for tasting of our 90 or 100 best new oak barrels of Pinotage from that specific vineyard. Then out of that we'll select 30, and that's a diesel. But the diesel became very, very well known all over the world because people came to the farm just to see this 95 kilogram wine dog. And he was a wine dog. He was a cross between a Great Dane from Warwick estate and also from the Boerboel from Le Bonnier. And people came, when he was old, he just lied, they would go and see, where's Diesel, can I look at him? And they came here, and once I did a tasting in Copenhagen. In Copenhagen, you do the tasting outside the supermarket. People will taste and they will go inside and buy their wine. Guy came to me and said, my wine is not here. And I tried to explain to him, all our wines are here. And he said, no, you haven't got the Diesel. Because I was on the farm and he came and he just rubbed against me, but he didn't bite me, the guy said. So even in Copenhagen, 10 years ago, the guys knew about Diesel.
Wow, I must say it's one of my favorite wines, certainly from your range as well. But hearing about Diesel, who I never got the fortune of meeting, he sounds more like a small horse than a dog. Tell me, which of your wines in your cellar gives you the most satisfaction at the moment? I know you can't choose between your children, but that one that just, you've had a tough day and you just want something to just make you a little bit happy. What is the wine that you open?
Like you said, it's very difficult to choose, but most properly, it's our entry-level Pinotage, our Pinotage. It's just called Beyerskloof Pinotage. It's got a white label. We talk about the white label Pinotage because I like to drink it when it's chilled. So I will chill it down to 12 degrees. And it's like beverages in South Africa we like to drink cold. But people don't chill their wine that much. So we even use ice in it. If I've got a hard day, I'll open, it's a screw cap, so it's easy to open, pour a glass of that. I've been telling a lot of stories about that specific wine, but also that if I practice, I'll much rather fill a long glass with that specific Pinotage because it's much more healthy for you in a certain sense, and it's also lovely to just take a small sip of that. Even if I have to write something, I like to have a glass of wine next to me and just wet my lips with that specific Pinotage, because otherwise I go to if you're in matric, you go to you want to have food the whole time, so you go to the fridge, open the fridge, have a look at it, but you never study. If you've got a small glass of wine and just taste it, you will concentrate immediately. Everybody must try it. That's the way I write. I like to write, but small, not glasses of it, maybe just a small bit on your tongue, and then you concentrate immediately. But our entry-level Pinotage, the white label Pinotage, is what I'll have.
I suppose it just gets those creative juices flowing once you have a little sip of that. I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question just in case. Do you think there is such a thing as a perfect variety?
No. I think if I just think about South Africa and I think about Stellenbosch, and forgive me if I don't mention white varieties, but for me Stellenbosch is written in red. And there's, let me say, Cabernet, Merlot, Pinotage, Shiraz. Everything does well if it's planted in the right position in Stellenbosch. We've got lovely weather, lovely soils. We've got diverse soils. So, and I think a lot of times people try to say, but this variety is the best, this variety is the best. We specialize in Pinotage, but it's like the jewels in a crown. We don't want to be the crown or the crown jewel. We just want to be one of the jewels in the crown, Pinotage, for instance, because if I have to choose between that varieties, I will choose Pinotage. And I just want Pinotage to be the shiniest jewel in the crown. So that's what we work hard for and everything. But I don't think you can say there's one variety. Even if you go to Burgundy, that Pinot Noir does the best in that area. There are spots that's hotter and certain soils that differ, that you can plant other varieties also.
Fair enough. Getting down to wine, as a consumer, when you're not drinking Pinotage, what is your next go-to?
I love Pinot Noirs. I like Burgundy. Burgundy is supposed to be Pinot Noir. I like Chardonnay. I like Chennons. I like, very good Chennons out. There's quite a few in South Africa that I can go to. Bordeaux blends are fantastic. I like Bordeaux blends in South Africa. That's amazing wines. But I like a lot of varieties, and I like a lot to experiment a lot with other wine farms. And I don't want to mention wine farms because then I can go on for ages. But I like other varieties. There's no variety that I want. If somebody give me a glass that I won't drink, I love them.
You love wine, basically. Tell me, Beyers, what is your opinion on wine competitions, wine critics, wine scoring, that kind of thing?
I think it's sometimes positive and sometimes negative. But I think the positive part of it is maybe more than negative, especially if it's competitions that's been there for ages, that's run properly, and the people that judge is really good judges. Because even a panel that judge can change from day to day. The better wines don't make it sometimes, but it's something that sells in the world. Sells wine, and anything that sells wine is not that bad, I believe. So it helps. I mean, the best way to sell wine is personal contact, like the two of us talking now. A tasting with 5 people or a tasting with 140 people, when people can ask questions and hear more about your product. That's the best way to market. But people read papers, they listen to the media, and they see you. And so in a certain sense, you're a bit forced to be in competitions, but I've got nothing against competitions.
Yeah, I think there's something for everyone in that, and you just need to decide which direction you want to go with that. Okay. A wine lover like we both are, we sometimes tend to overindulge a little bit. Do you perhaps have a hangover cure that you turn to?
No, not at all. I suffer. And that's occasional. It's not every now and then. I at this stage, you will know because your husband is a doctor. I use beta blockers to make my heart go slower because I'm a fast guy. I like to do a lot of things in different dimensions. I'm on the go the whole time. So, but if you drink too much, and if I talk about drink too much, a bottle is not too much. I'm talking about going past a bottle most properly, and then it feels like with that medicine, it feels as if you've got a hangover for 3 days. So now I get hangovers for 3 days. Oh, no. And I forget about the cures, but maybe 2 dispirins or what with a long glass of water before you go to bed, that's a good cure. Lots of water before you go to bed if you know you overindulge a small bit. And I always overindulge just a small bit.
It's kind of one of the hazards of the job. They go hand in hand. Okay, Beyers, so you're just here minding your business in the cellar, and lo and behold, a UFO lands full of space aliens, and they've been traveling for a long time. They are thirsty. what do you serve them?
Definitely Pinotage, because I want to introduce them to South Africa, and Pinotage is the only commercial variety that we've got in South Africa. There's a lot of others, there's about 12 others, but I'll definitely give them chilled Pinotage with ice so that immediately they feel comfortable in South Africa.
I think that's a good way to introduce them to the joys of life in South Africa, for sure. When you're not working, how do you spend your free time?
I love a lot of things. I like diving. I must say, first of all, I'm not with bottles, but just free, like scuba. No, it's not scuba, what do you call it? Snorkeling. I love taking out crayfish and Kriekbult. We can't take out abalone at this stage. I love golfing. I like to be on a bicycle. I'm not so good on a bicycle, so I'm not on single tracks every day, but I can still do it 2-3 hours on a bike, and that gives me a lot of joy. So I like to practice, and after practice I like to braai chops and sausage. I like hunting also. So, and then I like a few glasses of red wine with that. So that's basically when I'm on holiday.
That sounds like perfect balance. The perfect holiday. Tell me, do you support any sports teams in particular? I know you're a big rugby fan. So yeah, tell me about that.
There's only one, that's the Western Province and the Stormers. Those two are the two that I support. I've got a lot of, empathy or whatever with other, but if the guys play good rugby, I enjoy it. And, and schools rugby most probably is the best. Your kid go to Bishops and they excellent, Wynberg, so the Paul boys and Paul Jim and obviously Stellenbosch, Paul Roos. But to go to the schools rugby, it's amazing to see how they play. But my team, Stormers and South Africa.
Of course, we can't forget the Springboks, for sure. Tell me, do you enjoy music? What do you enjoy? What kind of genre? When you maybe by the fire, braaiing a nice piece of red meat?
I love any music. From Pavarotti to Elvis Presley to hard rock. There's a few of these hard rockers in my time that made excellent, but I can't always remember the names, but there's a few heavy metal guys that I enjoy thoroughly,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Nice. It's nice to have diversity, and again, it's like the wine you choose. It depends on your mood and the occasion and all of those kinds of things. What, Beyers, was the best piece of advice you've ever received?
And then there's a lot of good pieces of advice, but one is most probably to shut up and listen. But hard work, always with hard work, you will eventually get what you want. A lot of people think that if we in the wine game say that wine is made in the vineyard, that's correct. It's hard work in the vineyard, but when your grapes come to the cellar and you don't work it correctly, then you're out. But hard work most probably is one of the best things that I've ever learned.
And with hard work comes results, so that makes perfect sense, which leads me to my next question. What is the thing your most proudest achievement from a career perspective?
There's such a lot, and a lot of people has asked this question also, said, Beyers, you achieved such a lot in your life. How did it happen? You've been at the right place at the right time. You were very lucky, and that's all the grace of the Lord. I was so blessed in my life up to now, but that and there's such a lot of achievements, but most probably if you have to go back to, and it's not, like I again said, it's a grace of the Lord that He put me at the right spot at the right time. Most probably the Robert Mondavi trophy that we won for the best wine in the world, and it was good for South Africa at that stage, but it was also good for Pinotage because it was with the 89 Pinotage. So and those days, you must, if you think back in the 80s compared to now, there was not social media, the burger and in the Transvaaler and those places, everything was in that and everybody read that. Their turnovers was much bigger than now. So it was big news in South Africa that a South African has won the Robert Mondavi trophy and the best wine in the world. And it made me feel good and knew that I'm on the right track with Pinotage also.
Mm-hmm. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Most probably Paul of the Bible. He's the wisest man that I know. If you have a look at him, he was also a wild guy, like, he wanted to achieve everything, but the words that he used is so wise. So it will be Paul of the Bible will be the guy that I will have dinner with. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It will be amazing.
It would certainly be very interesting comparing notes, especially on the wines that were drunk back in the day. And looking back, say about 2,000 odd years ago, what kind of wines do you think we will be drinking in, let's say, 300 years' time?
From now?
From now.
I think it's not going to change that much. I believe techniques will change, but I don't think we're going to eat pills and say, this is wine, or throw a pill into water and it becomes wine. I perceive that the quality will most probably be 50% better. There will be new techniques in the vineyards, but it will still be the same. You'll still go and buy your bottle. I hope they're going to make bigger bottles so that you buy a 3-liter bottle at least, and alcohols will still be the same. I would love to see. Somebody can just let me know in 300 years' time how it is.
That would be fun to have just a little telegram coming back to say, actually, this is how it's changed. I know you love the bush and enjoy seeing wild animals in the bush. So you've gone to the bush and you've gone probably in a Land Rover. It's broken down and now you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. What 3 wines do you hopefully have in the back of that car to see you through?
Most probably an oat Chardonnay. Heavy oat, not heavy oat, but a very balanced Pinotage. And then I would love to have a good Bordeaux, South African Bordeaux blend.
I think that should definitely keep you happy for a day or so.
Maybe not that long. Most probably, you say a day or so, most probably it will keep me happy for a few hours, but not longer than that. And then I'll start drinking the water out of the front of the cooler.
The radiator. I love that. Okay, we're almost done, but before we are finished, I want to play a little game with you. You love music, and I'm going to give you the names of 3 varieties, grape varieties, and you are going to pair it with an artist or a song that you think best kind of represents it. So the first variety is going to be Chardonnay. The second variety is going to be Koelenhof, and the last variety has to be Pinotage.
It's very difficult. I'll start with the last variety, most probably a love song from Elvis Presley, or the last song. Then Koelenhof. Koelenhof is so typical, so sparkling. But Koelenhof, you can make, the olden days they even made sparkling wine with it. So Sure, my knowledge has blown out of my head now of songs, but that almost properly with Koelenhof, I have something that the kids do, this boom, 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 something like that. And then Chardonnay. I'll go to maybe much more to a classical one of Michael Bublé, or maybe I've got a guy that I'm mad about, that I think the best singer in the world, but I can't get on his name now. So it's not Jim Reeves, definitely not. So
it's going to come to you at 2 a.m. in the morning. You're going to lie in bed and go, that was it.
That's a guy. But I'm not, like I say, I'm not. I love songs, but if you ask me, I'm not one of those guys that say, this is this, this is that guy. So I'm a bit out of tune on it. There's one song that I love, and it's like Smoke on the Water and those type of things, and the heavy metal things. So this is a question that you had to send to me beforehand, that I could have worked on it and prepared on that. But love songs with Pinotage because it's so balanced, so classic. Chardonnays, but hip hop with Koelenhof. So.
Fair enough. Maybe Love Me Tender with that Pinotage.
Love me too. Oh, true to you.
That's the one. Okay, Beyers, thank you very much for joining me today and for sharing all your stories and just telling us more about you and your beautiful farm. Just some parting notes from your side. What can our listeners expect if they were to come and visit Beyerskloof here in Stellenbosch? And please also share your website address.
There's such a lot of things you can do at Beyerskloof. First of all, we've got a fantastic team in the tasting room, Jacques and Isaac. They'll keep you informed. They'll tell you about the wines. You can come and do wine tastings. We've got a lovely restaurant with an excellent chef, Frank Menezes. He's got a bit of a Portuguese background, so his food is excellent. We do a Pinotage burger. He's got excellent fish, and especially he's now I'm also out of, but you can come and visit and stay with us, eat and drink. You've got a 3-4 hours kuier that you can. Our website is www.beyerskloof.com. You can go to that, and otherwise, if you can get nobody, phone me. I'm here most of the time, and what you should come and do that I nearly missed is you must come and try Frank's chicken livers, because chicken livers and his risotto and chicken livers, because he makes the best in the Western Cape. And the Pinotage burger is also great, so come and visit us.
A lot of good excuses to come to Beyerskloof. Once again, Beyers, thank you so much for your time today, and that's goodbye from me.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.